Welcome back to Wild Vittles. Today's episode, we're going to do tamale pie. Now this is an adapted recipe from Cowboy Kent Rollins, and he does it with beef. I'm going to do it with elk. Could be done with deer or any other ground meat. So, got to get started. As usual, I'm generally running a little bit late. I've already got a hot skillet, and I've diced up, should be finer dice than this, but I've diced up a white onion, a large white onion. And we are going to let that saute. I've got pound and 3/4, so you can do like 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of ground meat sitting over there ready. It's already thawed out. And we're going to get this in the skillet. I've got enough olive oil on the bottom of the pan to be able to cover it and facilitate cooking. So I've got this poured in. And we are going to now also cut up some of the other ingredients. So we're supposed to put in here a large red bell pepper. And the bell pepper that I have, I'll put it over here so you can see it, is a bit puny. So I'm going to supplement that bell pepper with an orange one. I didn't have 2 red ones, so I think they all taste the same. Good way to cut these things up, make sure you wash all your vegetables, is put it stem side down and then slice it like each of the sides off. I try to go wide enough to miss the seeds. And then you can throw out the core. I just need to dice that up. So let me do that too. This is going to go into the meat mix along with a jalapeno. I would like to just put the entire friggin' jalapeno in there, but I need to take out the, what do you call the core in a jalapeno? You know, that white stuff in the insides along with the seeds. That's where all the heat is. And if you leave it in, your tamale pie will be hot. Well, I need to have it not so hot so that my spouse will eat it as well. Because, you know, you got to be thinking about more than just yourself. All right. Now, I hope to one day to go to culinary school. I know my knife skills are a bit lacking, but you know, I'm getting the job done. So I'm not the fastest on this. But, you know, as they say, slow and steady wins the race, but you may be hungry by the time you get there. There's also a saying about never trust a skinny cook. I don't know if I'd be considered skinny or not. Now this tamale pie, I'm cutting this up, make sure not to cut myself. This tamale pie is essentially, if you think about a tamale, tamales are wonderful, but they are a tremendous amount of work, tremendous. And generally when people make tamales, they get, you know, a small army together and make them. I conscript my daughters and my son-in-law during Christmas to help me make tamales. We did that this year, and it was fantastic. We've been doing it the last several years. And I think, even though they kind of groan about it, I think they like it. And I know they like the tamales themselves. But tamale pie is a way to have kind of the enjoyment of eating a tamale without going through all the pain associated with making it. So what we're going to do is, this is kind of a 1 skillet meal, where we are going to essentially make the filling in this skillet. And I've got like a 12-inch, I think this is 12 or 14-inch skillet. And then we'll have the filling in there, and then we're going to make the masa. And if you're not familiar with masa, it is the dough around a tamale. It's a corn flour, and this one's going to be fluffy. You can make them dense or fluffy. When I make the real deal tamales, I don't put baking powder in it, but this recipe calls for baking powder in the masa, and it'll be fluffy, for lack of a better term. And it makes a really great product. This is, it's not my favorite, but it is in my top 5 recipes, especially when it comes to ground meat. And again, normally I do this with ground deer. This is with ground elk because I've got more 2-pound packages of ground elk left. I did a lot of 1-pound packages, and I don't know, I'm learning as I'm going in my processing years. Even though I've been doing this a bazillion years, I've learned that if you do 1-pound packages, even though it's more work to put up a lot of fewer packages, it gives you more flexibility. Because there's a lot of things I do that need a pound. And if you got a freezer full of 2 pounds, yeah, you could, save that pound for a later date. But, we're just, as human beings, we're not good at consistency in doing those things, right? So you got to make these things a bit, foolproof. Also, and I'm going to keep saying this because I think it's ingenious and people will appreciate it once they figure it out. I did not thaw this meat until this morning. And you might be like, Chris, you're pulling my leg. I'm serious. So what I did was I took that 1 3/4 pound of elk burger and put it in a vacuum seal bag. So of course, it comes in one of those, plastic bags that you might say comes in. I put it in that bag when I stuffed it, when I did my processing for my elk. Well, you take that bag, put it in a Ziploc, seal that son of a gun tight so no water can get in, and throw it. It could be in a bowl of water. I threw it in a Tupperware so that I don't spill it. And it needs to be cold water. Don't put hot water on there. And then you can put it in the fridge and just let it set all day. And something about that water, it's kind of convection probably. It takes care of your freezing because it goes through and sucks all that cold out. Now, again, the physicist among you will say, no, Chris, we're adding heat, not taking cold out. I understand, but my simple mind, it seems like you're taking the cold out. So that meat, as of, like 6:30 this morning, was rock hard, frozen block, and now it's a nice, fresh looking, thawed out piece of elk burger. So one thing too, I'm cutting up I cut up a red pepper and an orange pepper. It's supposed to be one big bell pepper. Also calls for a jalapeno, and I have split it and I've cored it out to take out the center because those innards, they're spicy. When you do this, do not rub your eyes. Do not take out your contacts. You will regret it. That is a life lesson. There are people in this world that you can warn, don't touch that stove. There's people in this world that need to smell burning flesh instead. Sometimes I'm in the latter camp as well. I'll be like, no, I'm good. So what I've done now is I'm cut this jalapeno lengthwise. Ooh, I'm burning my onions here. See, I got to talking and I'm not paying attention. These are going to be, some of these onions are going to be Cajun style, blackened. All right. I got off on topic here doing my jalapenos, and I need to be putting in my ground meat. So here we have a 1 3/4 pounds of ground elk. Put that dude in there. Get this to browning. The back side of it was sticking up out of the water, and it's a little not frozen. But still, before I, kind of caught on to this trick of sticking it in the water like that, you were kind of left, if you got it out the morning of and then tried to put it in there, it wouldn't be frozen, but it sure as hell wouldn't be thawed. And you'd be like chiseling through the metal and putting it on a hot surface and hoping that you can kind of get it thawed in that process. And that'll work, but it takes a lot of time, frustration, maybe a few curse words to be able to kind of get it to move along. So that's going to brown. And I'm over here chopping my my jalapeno now. So now I've got it cut into kind of like toothpick type strips, and I'm going to chop into small bits, because what you want is all of this is going to go into a mixture in your burger, and that's going to be your tamale mix. And it only takes, a jalapeno. I would like to have probably 2 in there, but I'll keep it civilized. What I can be doing is I'm going to start making my masa in a minute. Masa is a tricky thing. This is one of the key things on tamales, is learning how to make it. This is not Although it is masa that you make for the tamales, it's not the style that I would make for the kind of tamales that you'd like wrap in a corn husk. The very traditional Mexican dish. Because we're putting butter in instead of like lard, and we're going to be adding baking powder. Because it'll be kind of like a shepherd's pie is really what this is going to look like if you're familiar with that dish. But instead of potatoes on the top, we're going to put this masa and a little bit of cheese. There'll be cheese in the mix, and there'll be cheese on top. And oh, so good. And one thing that's not included in the ingredient list, but you ought to have on hand, is some good taco hot sauce. I like tapatio or cholula. I think I'm mispronouncing cholula. All right, this is coming together. Still red. Every time I do anything with a flour-based substance, I get it everywhere. I like to bake, but my wife doesn't like me to bake because I'm extremely messy. I'm wearing something black today. I guarantee by the time I get done with this, I'll have white all over me. All right. These are half cups, and I'm smoothing them over at the top. So that's 1/2 cup. 2, which is 1 cup. 3. 4. Now the trick is going to be on this is like, I need to make it just the right consistency, and so I'll probably put too much liquid in, and then it's too liquidy, and I'll put more masa in, more powder, and it'll be too dry, and hopefully we can hit the right balance. Handy dandy teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of salt in here. It's always a little dangerous to do it over your bowl because you might miss. I miss sometimes. Brand new container of baking powder. This stuff's really fluffy, and I generally spill it as well, and that's awesome. How much baking powder? 2 teaspoons. That's quite a bit. 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons. All right. And let me give this a stir. We're about to put in our bell pepper and our jalapeno into our meat, but I want to get it brown where I don't see the pink. You probably could cook it at the same time, but I tend to be a very linear thinker when it comes to this. And if you've got the time, I would like to ensure that this is totally browned all the way through, because I've really never found that I've overdone burger. In fact, if it's got some crispy bits in it, that's generally a bonus. It's also one of the reasons that ground meat is a little bit easier to handle. It doesn't have such a narrow window. I mean, when we talk about steaks, it has such a narrow window. You really need to not exceed, like, it's starting to get bad at 140 degrees. Really ought to be 130, 135 internal temp, which is why I showed you guys how to do the sous vide, and I would impress upon you, try that out. If you have, the ability to pick up a sous vide device, you may not use it all the time, but when you do, oh my God, that's one of the best steaks I've ever had. And it has so many other uses. I mean, you could really do a lot of things with it. It's really great, especially on rainy days when you can't do stuff from the grill or it's cold out. I understand when it's nice out, you want to be outside. You want to hear the smoke, or not hear the smoke. You want to smell the smoke, hear the sizzle. All right, recording. So we've added the ground beef. We cook until it's brown. We've already stirred in the onion. So now we're going to put in the bell pepper, the jalapeno, and the garlic. And I cheat a little bit in buying minced garlic, but my God, you can't do everything the hard way. And I try to focus the hard way on things that matter. You know what I mean? So, see, I need a teaspoon for that. I think that's a teaspoon. I have some teaspoons that you can't see what it is anymore, and I'm kind of guessing. I think that's a teaspoon. I don't really know that's a teaspoon anymore. But hey, if you think that going from a half to a full teaspoon is going to impact a dish, unless it's something like saffron, which probably costs like $30 per, ounce or something like that, or cayenne pepper or something. Most things, a half teaspoon ain't gonna matter. Like I said before on chili, it's like a shotgun. It's not a precision instrument. You can estimate these things, which I've had to kind of get comfortable with because I'm a precise kind of guy. How much garlic? 4 cloves, which is 4 teaspoons of this pre-minced. So it is your vampire repellent. If only it worked on grizzly bears. I would love that. I would go into the mountains of Montana with more confidence. Which, don't get me wrong, I still hunt in grizzly bear country. It just, makes me a little uncomfortable. But such is life. All right, we're going to add all of these vegetables. The bell pepper, the jalapeno, and the garlic. Oh, that's a big piece there. Try not to spill these off the side. There we go. Just in there to put all that in there. And I need to put some mesquite seasoning. And the mesquite seasoning, it says in there, I think is to taste. And I don't always like that. Because I like exactness. By God, I want you to tell me. Put exactly X amount in there. So, I'm going to wing it. This is Kent Rollins season. That's Kent Rollins on the front, if you can see on the video, for those that are watching on YouTube. But the majority of the folks actually that are listening to what I'm doing are listening through podcasts, which I think is cool. I'm going to go ahead and mix my dry ingredients here. Make sure they're good. Make a bit of a well in there. Pour in my butter. You need some sort of fat in your masa. And then we need to put in 2 cups chicken broth. I thought I had a measuring cup here somewhere. Well, I did, but it's in there yep. It's inside my masa. Measure this out. I better not have that on 7. I'm gonna not be paying attention and burn the bottom of my tamale pie. And then this podcast will never see the light of day if I screw this up, because it'll go into my hall of shame. Well, it's starting to look really good. Looking delicious. All right, this is a half cup. So let me put in 2 of these half cups. 1 half cup. 2 half cups, which in Oklahoma math, that's 1 whole. We're going to mix that together a little bit. And what we're looking for is kind of, I think, a cement type consistency. I know that 1 cup's not enough, but I wanted to get a little mix, right? Now we're going to go ahead and put the 2nd cup in. There's half. And there is a whole chicken broth. I think one of the things I used to do early in cooking was I get really stressed because you do have a lot going on at the same time. And I always feel like I'm under time pressure. And it's pretty hard to do. Like, this is after work. It's like 6:30. Family might be like, where the hell's my meal? But I don't know. If you cook stressed, I feel like it's going to end up kind of tasting like that in your food. Probably because you screwed something up. All right, this masa is looking a little bit thin. I'm hoping that I've just got a lot of thickness on the bottom of the bowl. It is starting to come together, though. What we're going to do with this masa, too, is we're going to spread it like cement over the top of our tamale pie. Yeah, it's getting good. I think we're there. All right, I'm going to stop mixing that. Check on our meat, and our meat, and I should, before I do that, should show for a camera here kind of what this consistency looks like. You know, it's kind of like batter. Betty butter, about some butter. 2 teaspoons of chili powder, they say. I do not think that 2 teaspoons of chili powder is enough. Do you? I mean, look at that. Well, there's not much at all. And that's a big old pan. That's like 1 3/4 pounds. I think we're going to need to go rogue and put an extra in there. So I'm going to put in at least 3. At least. What is not in the recipe. All right. And then, because I think, you know, chili does a lot of good in there. We're also going to put in a teaspoon of cumin. Now, cumin I agree with. Cumin is pretty powerful. It goes a long ways. Can't go in there. I'm making a mess. I always have a hard time getting this stuff pour out. Now, I would say, though, is if I pour a little over than what I think, I'm kind of happy with that. Cumin has a very distinctive smell. It's like, I wouldn't mistake that anywhere. But it is critical in your Mexican dish, or Tex-Mex at least. All right, a teaspoon of oregano. Now, I have Mexican oregano. They give it to you in a big-ass bag. And I don't know anybody that uses that much oregano. So I'm like slowly working my way through this thing. How much oregano? Teaspoon. Not enough. We're going to get more. And it's like whole. This is a Fiesta brand. So I get a big scoop, heaping scoop out. And it's like whole. You need to crush it. So I pour it in. If you had a mortar and pestle, this would be a good use. I put it in my hand and like crush it. Kind of grind it. It smells. You should smell it before you throw it in there. It's fantastic. Fantastic. It's one of the reasons I love to cook. It's all the smells. I was really scared during COVID that I was going to get COVID and lose my sense of smell. I really appreciate my sense of smell. I think you'd lose your sense of taste too. And I got COVID, had a terrible headache, didn't feel good, but I don't think I lost my sense of smell. And the green chilies, we gotta put in the starch too, though. I think the starch, you know, you could probably do without. This is supposed to be a thickening agent. How much starch is in there? Salt, cumin, cornstarch, tablespoon. My God, that's a lot. But, you know, rules is rules, so tablespoon it is. If they say, I'm very messy with ingredients. I threw that in there and it kind of went everywhere. All right. Now, crushed tomatoes. Love crushed tomatoes. And you might be like, well, I got stewed, or oh, I got diced. No, get crushed. Crushed is what you need. Recipe calls for it, man. So we got 1 15-ounce can crushed tomatoes and 2 of these hatch diced green chilies. My wife got mild because she likes mild. They're both 4 ounces. I like it hot. Get that deal opened up. These are wonderful. I got to start stirring this thing. It's going to burn. And then it's going to be like, Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, like I said, it calls for hominy. If you love hominy, God bless you, put it in. I don't like it. I feel like I should. I feel like I'm a worse person for not liking hominy. Or perhaps I just haven't had the right hominy experience. Maybe I had a bad hominy experience. I've tried it. I'll try everything. Unless I'm allergic to it. All right, we're going to mix this up. And once we get it mixed, I'm going to put in some cheese. But I want to do that last because that gets all over my stirring device. And then we're getting really close because once we get this mixed up and we get the cheese in it, Then all we got to do is put the batter on top. We're going to throw it into the oven because the meat in the concoction is done, but we just got to cook that masa on top. And that'll take a while. Let's see, it takes 30 to 40 minutes. So really it's kind of like whenever it's done. And everybody's oven is a little bit different. So for those of you who can see, this is really coming together in a beautiful mix. This looks like something you should have on the inside of your taco or enchilada. It's going to be on the inside of our tamale pie. And we put that cornstarch in there to help kind of thicken it. But one of these days, I'm going to get really bold and try leaving it out, because I don't think it makes that big a difference. But I'm too chicken to do it today because I don't want it to be runny when I really need it, if that makes sense. All right, this is looking fantastic. All right, time to put in the cheese. I'm experimenting. I generally use like a finely shredded, and I'm gonna try this Mexican thick shredded because I like change. Then we're gonna take the rest of this, so about 1.5 cups of cheese, and we're gonna stir it in until it's combined. Hopefully I don't regret using the chunky stuff, but I think it's going to be pretty good. Cheese is a funny thing. I love it in a dish, but I wouldn't like sit down just to eat a block of cheese. But I know people who are just like, give me a piece of that with a cracker, and man, they're happy. I think I can probably turn off this burner, and there's enough warmth in there to keep this all going. I haven't made this dish in a long time. I was trying to figure out, this is Wednesday night that I'm making it. In our house, we have this rule called Whatever You Want Wednesday. WWW. And it came from COVID, and I was doing a lot of cooking in COVID, and my family was like about to rebel because I was cooking so much wild game, and it was really heavy on the meat and didn't have a whole lot of side dishes. You'll learn. And to keep morale up, I came up with Whatever You Want Wednesday, and that meant that, you can have whatever you want, but you're in charge of it. So that post-COVID has stuck in our household, even though now it's just my wife and I, but if the kids are visiting, they're like, hey, it's Whatever You Want Wednesday. So tonight, my wife made a salad. I don't know how you make a salad. She assembled a salad because she didn't want to wait on my dish, and that's okay. This thing. So now, I'm scooping out of my big bowl this masa, right? And now I'm kind of spreading it out with my spoon. It's not cooperating exactly, but we're getting it done. I did short myself a 1/4 cup, and I may regret that. Because it looks a little sparse, but fear not. Taste and visual representation, luckily, are not always the same thing. All right, we are damn close. Where's my spreader? I'm gonna scoop that out. Get my spoon clean of all this masa. Well, that's not something you'd want to pour down the drain. I tell you what, you better have a hot spigot going, hot water to clean up your leftover bowl. So now I'm taking what I was using in the skillet is a kind of a flat spatula. It's a wooden or bamboo spatula, and I'm dragging it across the top of my meat mixture. So let me recap here. We made the meat mixture and browned it, mixed it together, and kind of as a filling. I've made the masa separately in a bowl, mixed it together, and now I've taken spoonfuls of it and kind of dolloped it all over the top of this dish. And now I'm taking, first I did my spoon, now I'm taking this flat spatula, and I am working over the top to kind of spread it out as if I were a concrete worker working on your driveway before some hooligans come over the next night to write their initials. For there to be ever in your driveway, so-and-so loves so-and-so, 2024. All right, that is looking really good. So, I think that we have achieved success here. So now, my oven's ready. I'm going to take off the headset. I'm going to go put this in the oven, and through the magic of time, approximately 35 minutes are going to pass. I'm also going to clean up all this crap, and I'll come back, and we will see, did Chris's tamale pie turn out? Will it be a hit? Or will this podcast never see the light of day because it was not satisfactory? To be continued. Welcome back. We're going to get this tamale pie out of the oven. It looks fantastic. I wish you could smell this. This smells absolutely wonderful. The pan over here. Let the folks on the video be able to see this beauty. So, just to kind of recap a little bit. So, let me get this where you can see that. So, what we've got now is we've got elk mixed with jalapenos, bell peppers, onions, some River Ranch Mesquite Seasoning. You could just do salt and pepper is fine too to taste. Chile, cumin, garlic, and cheese all mixed together underneath this. We did a masa mix, which was 2 cups of the masa, 2 cups of chicken broth, and a stick of butter melted, all mixed together. Did all this in one pan. It's a skillet. This is, I believe, a 12-inch skillet. And just kind of standard size cast iron. Took that masa and spread it over the surface like a shepherd's pie. If you're listening, that's how you should think about this. This is a kind of tamale version of a shepherd's pie. I left a half a cup of cheese in reserve, and in the last 5 minutes, I spread it over the top. It's really for just kind of looks. Because, it's not everywhere. It's kind of in the center, kind of as a garnish. Makes it look beautiful. Kept it in the oven for 35 minutes. So at 30 minutes, I put the cheese on. And now the masa has kind of, risen a little bit because we had some baking powder and salt in that. And you test it to make sure that it's done by taking a toothpick and poking it through in different places and ensuring that it doesn't that it comes out clean. And if that happens, it's done. And this looks wonderful. I'm going to let it cool a little bit. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes so that it doesn't just completely fall apart as I pull it out. But just to kind of wrap up, and I'll show kind of a picture, probably at the tail end of the video, and I'm on Instagram as well, of the finished product. And a lot of these things aren't like, wow, my God, that's so pretty. Oh my God, this is good to eat. And I'm going to put some hot sauce on it, either tapatio or Cholula, as kind of a garnish. And it is a wonderful meal. Wonderful, wonderful. So if you're looking for me on Instagram, I'm Wild Vittles Podcast. My dog's barking in the background. If you're looking for me on YouTube, it's Wild Vittles Podcast. And if you're looking for me on any of the podcast sites like Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, it's Wild Vittles. And I hope that you will give us a listen. I hope that you give me a review. I really need some ratings to be able to make my content more findable. So I really appreciate it. Give us 5 stars. And let me know what you think. And if you're out there cooking up your own dishes, tag me on Instagram and I'll post it up. I like to show other people's work. If you got questions, instant message me. I've had some folks actually already doing this. I'm quite excited about it. And this is, I'm in month 2 of this podcast journey. So I really appreciate everybody that's coming along for the ride. So let's do it for the love of the wild game. Let's all be better wild game cooks because of it. So thank you, good night, and enjoy your tamale pie. See you later.
want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.